There is a strong feeling among many members of the law that if you are a favoured group, you will prevail in court, and if you are a disfavoured group, you just don't seem to succeed. And since I seem to represent a disordinate amount of Christians, which are clearly a disfavoured group, judgments which we feel we should win, for some reason don't seem to be given a sympathetic hearing. And of course, the legal tactic is very often, well, why don't we ask a Muslim group to join in with us? Then the court will have sympathy. But many Christian groups particularly object to that. They quite often say, well, we don't mind the Jews because it's the same as us. But the Muslims actually stand for very little what we stand for, and we're just using them to secure court advantage. And it's not the right way to do it. So these issues are raised.
Should we, as Christians, ever litigate? And I think that one really needs to weigh up, on the one hand, the injunction that we should turn the other cheek as Christians and be patient. And sometimes it's a more powerful witness to endure suffering and discrimination rather than immediately resort to litigation, which is essentially confrontational, and that we should be wise to choose our battles and use other means alternative to litigation to try and win people over gently and meekly, as the Lord Jesus Christ would have us do, rather than resort to aggressive tactics which litigation often involves.
There is a responsibility for us as Christians, as well as good employees, to not want to drag our employers through the courts. Our aim as an employee is to serve our employers well, but also to serve Christ well. In serving our employers well, do we want to be taking up their time through courts, calling witnesses, arguing something that could have been dealt with in an adult discussion over a cup of coffee? There are internal procedures, there's a grievance procedure. A sensible first approach is to address something informally. Have a chat with your employer, even possibly before it becomes an issue. Explain, this is my faith, this is what I believe. I would like to, for example, wear a cross in the workplace. I would like to have some Bible verses going across as my screensaver. Would you be happy with that? If you're a good worker, if you're somebody who is discussing a matter maturely and in a reasoned manner, what employer could take issue with that? And having raised it initially, getting your employer on side, you're in a much better position than waiting until it becomes an issue. Until if you were to distribute Bible verses amongst your staff, if it becomes an issue with your employer, the first time somebody says, I'm deeply offended by this, you're on the defensive. If your employer has already said, I understand, they understand your faith and why you want to do something, you're in a much stronger position. And I think the grievance procedure gives you an opportunity as well to explain the gospel. If you're in court, that's confrontation. Judges think they know all about Christians anyway. You've got no chance of persuading a judge what Christians believe. Your employer will not have the fogginess more often than not what you believe. When you're explaining your grievance, you're concerned about the way you're treated. At the very beginning, I am a Christian, this is what I believe, this is why this concerns me. Your priorities are, first of all, your faith, explaining your faith so they can understand where you're coming from, and then what the concern is. It's not to get across, this is my concern, do something about it because I am a Christian.
There's a view, particularly in the government, that everybody should settle their cases, as it were. Now, you can see why that is, it saves money and so on and so forth, but in a settlement process, the person who has least money and least power will end up very poorly off.
More often than a loser in one form or the other.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we do, we have to, as Christians, to believe in justice and to believe in a state that provides courts where, at the end of the day, the weak person can go for protection. And I'd be very upset if the preference for settlement became so strong that we made it so difficult for people to go to court that they never could. Because then injustice will take place in private.